Well, I tell you who else says that we have a problem in this country, and that's Hindu leaders. Here in Australia, they're warning that religious intolerance is being incubated, that's their phrase, in this country through the Albanese government's failure to stamp out anti-Semitism. Hindu Council of Australia Vice President Surinder Jan said, and I quote, "The past 453 days have been a nightmare for Jewish Australians. Those who hate Jews also hate people of other faiths except their own." James, it's a bit embarrassing for the PM when community faith leaders feel the need to come out and address the hateful rhetoric that his own government is allowing to grow.
Yeah, it's disgusting that they need to do so, and I'm reminded of the Martin E. Moller quote. Then they came to the Jews and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. These Hindu leaders, they're not going to be like that, and it's great that they are, and I'm not saying they're doing it for selfish reasons, but if we do have a situation where the conflicts of old world come to Australia, I think Hindus know that that would not exactly go well for them and their own either. I think it's also interesting that 9 of the 10 most populous Hindu seats in the Australian electorate are held by the Labor Party. Now, I don't know how universal this disgust of the Labor government has been among Hindu people, but if they do feel that this is not a Labor government that respects religious freedom and not a Labor government that has the back of minority groups that are traditionally quite peaceful, then how many votes would that change, and could that swing an election? I think that's going to be something pretty interesting to see later this year.
Yeah, really good point, James. Bronwyn, the Hindu leaders certainly seem to have more courage than the PM, and they're a lot more direct in their language. If only we had direct speech like that from our political leaders.
I couldn't agree more. But of course, the Hindu people here in Australia can remember, of course, the atrocities that happened with the partition of India into Pakistan and India, and the dreadful things that were perpetrated on that occasion. They will remember that that when they see the Jewish people being attacked as they are here in Australia, without the government saying it's got to stop, and to saying that what was done on the 7th of October to those Israeli citizens was the most horrific, horrendous attack designed to bring about war, until that is acknowledged, which the Hindus do acknowledge, they say if they can get away with persecuting the Jewish people, they'll come after us as well. And that's why I think they have come together and understand very solidly precisely what they are facing. And we can't afford to have our country cut up like this, James. It really is a disgrace. And the word disgrace has almost become degraded in its meaning. It's not strong enough because we have such a weak government that refuses, absolutely refuses, to say what is correct behaviour, good behaviour in this country, and what is just plain bad behaviour, which has to be stamped out. And the word unacceptable is also now being degraded. What's the point in saying appalling behaviour like that is unacceptable when nothing is done about it to make sure it doesn't happen again? So we need strength here. And I'm hoping that in Donald Trump being elected in the United States, that strength will be shown there, and that it will filter down, as so much else filters down from the United States to Australia, that strength becomes the real thing that Australians want.
Yeah, well, Bronwyn and James, the other thing that I get weary of is every time something happens, our politicians say we won't tolerate anti-Semitism, or we won't tolerate acts of violence like we've just seen, until the next one happens and the next one happens. How many times can you say you're not going to tolerate something that continues happening until your rhetoric is completely meaningless? And unfortunately, every time something like this happens, we don't get direct speech, we don't get plain speech, we get rhetoric from our political leaders who are charged with keeping us safe. I think people are getting absolutely sick of it. Bronwyn Bishop, James Bolt, thanks to both of you for your time tonight, and Happy New Year to you as well.